Welcome to the immigration program presented by Law Office of Keshav Sedai. Today we're going to talk about new immigration reform bill. Mr. Sedai, could you please tell us about the status?
Thank you, Jay. Namaste. तपाईहरुलाई हामीहरुको इमिग्रेसन प्रोग्राममा पार्टिसिपेट हुनुको लागि स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। यसको साथसाथमा हामीहरुले हालसाल आजको दिनसम्म के भइरहेको छ, इमिग्रेसन रिफर्म जुन सुरु भयो यसको अवस्था के छ, यो पास हुने हालतमा पुगेको छ कि यसमा कुनै बाधा अडचनहरु आएका छन् कि, यो सबै विषयमा हामीहरुले वार्तालाप गर्नेछौं आज। We're going to talk about the entire comprehensive immigration reform and its current status as of today. So if we look into the totality of the immigration reform, it seems like we're heading towards the right direction, even though it is not a complete package as of today. The reason is, in order for any bill to become a law, it has to go through various processes or the stages of the legislative formulation. The number one thing has taken place so far, which is the Judiciary Committee has passed the bill, and the Judiciary Committee has sent this bill to the Senate. The Senate is going to introduce this bill to the full House on or about June 10th, 2013. So from June 10th to the end of the June, the Senate is going to discuss about this bill, as well as a lot of amendments might come to the floor, and a lot of process might take place to strengthen the border control or weaken the legislative process of the legalization program, or they might end up increasing the H-1B visa numbers for the information technology companies, or the H-1B or W program of the numbers might go up and down. So the entire bill is still under the full swing of discussion. So it can go either way. The numbers could change up and down. The legalization program, the primary issue right now is whether the date of entry date to qualify for the legalization program is going to remain as a December 31st, 2011, or it will be preponed to 2012 or even for 2013. So all these matters are still in fluctuation. In spite of all of this situation which might come in front of the Senate, it is my belief, to the fact that looking at the totality of the country itself and the legislative branches itself and the White House and its attitude, Republican and their attitude, as well as the need to secure need to secure Latino votes for both Republican and Democratic congressional election, which is going to take place in 2014. It seems like the bill eventually will become a law by sometime in the month of August. So my thinking is the bill is going to be going to the full Senate on or about June 10th, and then the discussion will take place. The full Senate will participate in the discussion for the whole month of June, and the Senate might pass this bill by on or before July 4th weekend, and the House will look into the Senate bill in the beginning of, in the middle of July. And House also is currently working on the bill. So House has its own bipartisan group which is looking into the immigration reform. They have not, for some reason, published anything whatsoever. It is internal document right now. So when the Senate passes the bill, House will compare the Senate bill to its internal documentation, which they have been working on right now. And that documentation is going to be kind of evaluated by the House folks, both, Democrats and the Republican, primarily Republican people, because they have the majority in the House. So when they look into both of these bills, we'll have to see how much discrepancy is there, how much difference is there. If there is a too much difference, then bill might not become a law, because the spirit of the House and the spirit of the Senate has to merge into one to become the bill a law. So if there is so much of discrepancy between the House internal document and the Senate passed bill, at that point of time, one of these two things might happen. Number one, they might say, you know what, let's try to hammer it out, our differences, and go through the compromises, which is going to take place with the House Conference Committee and the Senate Conference Committee. They will have to thrash out the differences and then produce a new bill. And both of them will pass it, you see? If that doesn't happen, then bill might just die down. It will all depend on the political structure of these both parties. If the Democrat think they might be able to blame the Republican Party and say, we did everything, we passed the Senate version of the bill, and the House screwed up this bill, then there won't be a bill. There won't be a law in comprehensive immigration reform. And when the election comes in next year, and Republican might get blamed for it, and they might lose the House election. But having that scenario is pretty rare, because most of the House votes are pretty much secured by the area where Latino vote doesn't have much of an impact. It has some impact, but it will not change the entire landscape of the Midwest or South. So Republican will still get elected. So this is the nature of the current immigration status, of where it's going to end, how it's going to happen. I can add a couple more points here if I have left out something from my communication, but this is where the current version of the immigration reform is heading to. It is my hope and belief the bill will eventually materializes and it will become a law, so the folks can start to have a new life. The thing is, if you look into the totality, you see, if you look at in the notes I have made here, it is a good bill. It has a multitude of arrangement here. If you look into the border security, it provides a comprehensive border security, more than $3 billion for the border reform. And they can hire, the U.S. Army can be, National Guard can be implemented in the border, number one. Number two, they're going to have drones. They can increase the number of border patrol agents. And then also revamp the I-9 protocol for the American companies through the E-Verify program. So this is a good part of the bill for the American border security. Whereas the bill also helps to legalize more than 11 million people who have been living in the United States for more than 12, 15 years in a shadow, underpaid, not paying taxes. So all of these people are going to become part of the American society, which will unleash, not only it will help to rebuild the economy. So out of these 11 to 12 million people, maybe 5 million people will end up buying house. The housing market is going to go up. Same thing, they're going to buy cars. Everything is going to go up because they have a driver license all of a sudden. Look at that. So when you look at the totality of the immigration reform on both the border security, legalization program, as well as the H-1B visa program, which they run out of the number in a post week this year.
Yeah.
65,000 was gone just like that.
Yeah.
They received 124,000 of H-1B visas. So most of the information technology companies don't have any resources to use at this point of time. So their need also would be met if the bill becomes a reality, because the bill proposes to increase the H-1B visa initially for 120,000, and if they run out of 120,000, it could go up to 180,000. So you have that part of the matter is also taken care of. And when you look into the farming side, so they want to also increase the visas for the farmers. So the farmer can bring a lot of people on H-2A used to come. Now you will need to have, you know, almost couple hundred, 200, 300,000 people might be able to come on farming visas. So the need for the farmer where the crops are getting rotten out, not being able to pick up the crops on time would be reduced. Again, helping the economic recovery of the United States. Moreover, I also think the bill also helps for the family unification, because the visas are going to be adjudicated much faster. You have IT companies getting benefited. You have a family reunification being taken place, as well as legalization of the visas and the border security. I think it's a very good news for the overall U.S. economy and the general welfare of the American population. So this is my belief. It is going to be a useful bill for the U.S. That's what I think. Jay.
Yeah. So what are the critical amendments?
Well, you know, there were more than 300 amendments were introduced during this bill. So a lot of amendments were defeated, thank God. I mean, there were amendments to end the legalization program from the Republican senators. So that did not go through. Similarly, you know, they had an amendment from the gay and lesbian people saying they need to have equality. So they need to be able to sponsor people. I mean, sponsor folks, even they were gay or lesbian. So that bill also did not go through. So in addition to that, a lot of other variables where you had this program which could have led into different road. Had these amendments, negative amendments been materialized, still you have a room. You don't know what is going to come up at the House. You don't know what is going to come up at the Senate floor. All these negative amendments which were defeated at the Judiciary Committee level could still come into play. So right now, we should not be very happy of where things are standing. Until the whole thing is hammered out, we need to wait. Even though there were critical amendments which could have defeated the spirit of the bill, it did not take place. So that's a good news. So this good news, we need to take it as a gift and move forward from here. That's what I think, Jay, for the amendment section.
I see. But how could an illegal person prove his or her physical presence here to qualify that the new reform?
I understand. This is a very good question, Jay. If you look at the totality of the bill, in order for these 11 million people to qualify for this program, they need to cross various hurdles. First and foremost thing is, at this point of time, the bill has set a deadline, entry deadline, as a December 31st, 2011. So any illegal person who entered the United States by various means, visa overstay, or entered without inspection through Mexico or Canada, or entered using somebody's false passport, or whatever the situation it is. Any person who is standing in the United States at the passing of the law has to prove they have been in the United States prior to December 31st, 2011, and they have been residing here in the United States continually from there on. So these two prongs of the law, how to prove it? That's the question. Well, first and foremost, you have two types of people here. One is the folks who legally entered into the United States. So those people have I-94 to prove that they entered legally into the U.S. So but for those people, they can prove, collect a copy of their I-94, number one. Or if they have lost the I-94, they can go to the USCIS.gov and download the immigration form they call I-102. Fill that application, send it to the Homeland Security Office. All the instructions are in the form. And that form will mail the I-94 back to them. So that is the primary proof of evidence. Then, if you had got into some other immigration issues in the past, then you have a government document again. Immigration might have issued I-102, or you might have dealt with the immigration court, you might have volunteer departure, or you might have some other government issued documentation, which are all prima facie primary document to prove your legal status your status, your physical presence in the United States. Now, moving forward, let's say you didn't do that. You came illegally. Or if you're a student visa holder, you overstayed the visa, or you fell through the crack, you did not reinstate your status, you became illegal. So you have your I-20. Similarly, you might have some other different visas. So those visas all can be status which might have even expired, but you can use to prove your physical presence in the United States. Now, people who didn't enter into any visa paperwork, they just entered illegally. For those people, or even people who enter into this category, now what they can do is they have different forms of documentation. As a person, they might have gone to the doctor. They might have acquired some state driver license, state driver permit, learner's permit, or they might have a state ID. They might have filed tax. They might have, so the tax record will be helpful. W-2 will be helpful. Your pay stub will be helpful if you have worked and used somebody else's social security number and you got paid. You have a pay stub. You have an employment history. So the employer might have issued some other, employment related or some employment experience letter for that matter. So you have multitude of documents we could prove. I mean, if you have children, you have a birth certificate, obviously. If you have children who are going to school-age children, they have a transcript. They have a transcript, they have, school records which shows you are the parents. So that is a proof you've been residing in the United States on or before December 31st and continuing thereof. So all these virtues of documents you can use. Tax, bank, lease, employment records, as I said before. So all these multitude of documents will be able to prove you've been residing here from this date. So I can read you a list of multiple documentation from my notes, but overall summary is look for the documentation which is going to prove any way possible you were here in the United States since that day. Moreover, if you can't find anything else, you go to the temple. So you get a temple, church, mosque, whatever religious place you go, you get a letter from the minister or the priest saying that this guy has been coming to this temple for so and so years and he's been a good donor. You pay the money there on a monthly basis or annual basis. Also, you might have participated in social activities, help some other non-profit organization, you're a donor, you give time, you can get a letter from them. Also, you can get some affidavits from your friends and family who know you for so long period of time, stating the fact that you've been in the United States. So it is not one document. It is a totality of the documentation you'll be able to produce in this effort, which could lead into proving you've been here in the United States. Will that be helpful to you, Jay?
Yeah.
And my viewers? So तपाईहरुले के फोकस गर्नु पर्यो भने अब ल आउने सम्भावना धेरै ठूलो छ अब हाल सालको लागि यो ल को बेनिफिट लिनको लागि तयारी तपाईहरुले सुरुदेखि नै गर्नु पर्यो हाल सालै सुरु गर्नु पर्यो अब त्यसको लागि I-94 अप्लाई गर्ने मैले भने तपाईहरुको होमल्यान्ड सेक्युरिटी uscis.gov मा गएर I-102 डाउनलोड गर्नुस् त्यो फर्म भरेर इमिग्रेसनको फी भरेर पठाइदिनुस् तपाईहरुलाई उनीहरुले I-94 पठाइदिन्छ त्यसको साथमा अरु कुन डकुमेन्टेसनहरुले तपाईले जम्मा गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ त्यसको पनि हामीहरुले अहिलेदेखि नै काम सुरु गर्यौं भने पछिको लागि धोका हुँदैन अब तपाईहरुले धेरै लामो टाइम पाउनु हुँदैन यसमा अप्लाई गर्नुको लागि त्यसमा 3-4 महिना 5-6 महिनाको टाइम हुन सक्छ अब त्यहाँ तपाईहरुको कुनै फेरि सिचुएसन हुन सक्छ you might have a criminal case or some other matter so visit a very experienced immigration lawyer who can suggest you how to navigate those issues right now. So instead of waiting for the law to come, it might be too late. So for you to participate in the program, and if you don't have enough time to remove all of these doubts or the obstacles and appear at the immigration, and you might become subject to deportation it should not be the case. So the overall purpose of this work is we want to help you. हामीहरुको दुईटा अफिस छ म्यानहट्टनमा ज्याक्सन हाइटमा we're on 74th Street. State Bank of India is on first floor, we're on the second floor. So we want you to come over. We'll try to do everything possible for to legalize or participate in this program, God willing, if the law passes. So पशुपतिनाथको कृपा, भगवानको कृपाले यो लॉ पास भयो भने हामी सबैको लागि फाइदा हुनेछ। यति भन्दै आजको प्रोग्राम यहाँ म टुङ्गाउने कोसिस गर्छु। नमस्कार, and again thank you for participating in our program. Law Offices of Keshav Raj Selai PC is always happy to have you in our program, and we'll see you in the next increment. Thank you and have a nice day.